Everyone, we'll call the community service June 20th meeting to order. I'll have a roll call first, please.
Ms. Weber?
Present.
Mr. Smith?
Present.
Ms. Polk?
Present.
Ms. Parker? Mr. Swanson? Mr. Kirkstra?
Present.
Ms. Foster?
Present.
Ms. Andre?
Present.
Ms. Monday?
Present.
Ms. Manick-Emmy? Mr. Wheeler? Got a quorum.
We have a quorum. Thank you for being here today, Joanne.
No problem.
Do you have any public comment from the back? I don't see any. Okay. Then you have been emailed the community service minutes from April 18th. I hope you had a chance. Mr. Smith, you want to move that we accept them? Okay. Okay. And, okay. And Ms. Foster will second it. All in favor of accepting those minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. Motion is carried. Thank you. First report from County Clerk Dan Hendrickson. You have in your packet his report. Ms. Mundy, would you move that we accept his report?
I make a motion.
Okay. Ms. Andre, will you second it?
Yes.
Okay. Looking at the report, and all in favor then say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed,
Aye.
say no. Okay, motion carried. We have your report. You have a comment?
Not on the report, no. Is
Okay.
pretty much status quo.
And it is, this isn't the June report, so maybe June will have more marriages than ever.
Love is in the air.
Love is in the
Oh.
air. So, well, we'll watch for, this month it was $1,200. We'll see if it doubles for the next time.
Well, if we increase the fees, we could definitely make that double. But
We'll talk about that in a second. But
oh,
what is it you want to add to us?
just a couple of things. Just wanted to let you know, we did put out an announcement on Facebook last week. Because of some staffing issues, our vital records department is closed during lunchtime. I've got 3 people normally that are trained in vital records. One is on vacation, one has left me, so I'm looking for a new position. So if you know anybody that's interested in working for the county clerk's office, the job is good, the pay is decent, the boss is a little iffy. But so if you know somebody, let me know. Also, by the time we speak again, we will be issuing new voter identification cards to all the registered voters in the county. That is part of our process that we do every 2 years to kind of help clean up the files and make sure that people get their identification so that they know who they're voting for and where they go to vote.
And Mr. Wheeler is 10.
Thank you. What is the post office's process on that? If it's somebody has their mail forward, that kind of stuff.
Those voter identification cards are not forwardable. So if those come back to us, they will come back with either unable to deliver or with a forwarding address. With that information, we send out what's called an R26 form. It's an address confirmation form to say, hey, records show that you moved from Bradley to Bourbonnais or wherever, or across the street. You know, please confirm that with us. If they don't confirm this, then they're placed in what's called inactive status, and they stay in inactive status for a period of 2 general elections. After 2 general elections, then we can cancel their registration.
Oh. And they could re-register.
They can re-register at any time, either come to our office or go to the polls and re-register.
And they wouldn't necessarily be in your whole county even, so.
Well, if they do move out of the county, they would need to re-register with the appropriate election authority.
Good question. Anything else? I want to mention before the meeting, we talked about the approval of 300 new voting booths.
Yes.
So are they here?
They are not here. We haven't placed the order yet. We would expect to place the order probably sometime next week.
Ah.
So
What's the company's name? Oh, sorry. But you're placing it.
Print-Elect.
Print-Elect. Print-Elect, okay. And they're 300, and you're hoping to put 5 at each polling place.
Yes.
And 5 in your office to have.
We'll have some in the office. We'll have some at our satellite locations for early voting. So yes, we should have enough, and we'll save a couple of those older booths that are still in reasonable shape for, you know, if we need them for other locations. We may have a few polling places that say, you know, we're gonna have a ton of voters here, can we get 6 or 7 booths, and we'll be able to meet those needs.
And I think in the past you've indicated the next election is actually not till next April.
Next March.
Next March. So
March 19th, if memory serves correctly. It's the third Tuesday in March. And that
be
will
here.
be the general primary election.
Oh, they'll be here for sure by then.
Yes.
What I've asked him before the meeting is if the booths come in and they're here for our next meeting, that I'd like us, maybe you can make a demonstration downstairs as we leave. We can.
As jazzy as I can make a presentation on a voting booth, I will make that happen.
Just good for us to see how the new ones look.
Sure.
Sleek and good, easy to use. Okay. The other thing I mentioned to him before the meeting is I had received a notice for jury duty postcard, and I answered it and answered all the questions on the phone. And I asked Dan this morning if he turned my name in, and he said,
We do not directly submit information to the jury commission for the pool for jurors. They pull that from the State Board of Elections, which we feed to the State Board of Elections, but also from the driver's license facility too. So it's not just registered voters, it's anybody who's got a driver's license in Illinois.
oh, so if any of you receive a jury duty lately, you have too. Oh, good. Did you answer on the phone? Yes? Online, yes. You haven't received any notices yet to be on a jury, but you're looking forward to be in the new facility. Yes, me too.
I have nothing to do with that.
I thought sure. They just took.
Forward to my $5 for the day.
Oh, we could bring that. Have you listened to that meeting where there
Not yet.
criminal justice meeting?
Well, yeah, I was here for that one, yeah.
Oh, so you're looking forward to more than $5?
Well, let's hope so. But now it's $5, so I'll take it.
Mr. Chairman, when would that increase in salary be? Not till after we're on the jury? If there were an increase in money for jurors, when would it be effective? After the new budget?
If it went through committee and it went to full board, I would give a month maybe for the computer to be updated. I'm sure that those fees are I couldn't say. I don't see why it would last longer than a month to get it installed.
He's saying he cannot hear you, but your microphone is on, so.
13.
Oh, that's what the problem is. Okay, sorry. No, okay.
Could you repeat the question, Counselor?
The question, the question was, if that was in criminal justice, has made there's a survey reported that about jury duty fees. Is that the right word, fees or salary?
It's compensation.
Compensation for jurors.
Yeah.
And it was found that this county maybe need to increase their compensation for jurors. So my question was, if these ladies are chosen for a jury, when would they be able to expect, if they're approval, how do you get approved? That's what the question to you
If it
was.
passes committee this month and full board next month, I would imagine give them a month to institute it. Because I don't know what has to be changed on computer systems at the courthouse, all that stuff. So I can't speak for them.
I just want, what you're saying though is it doesn't have to wait till the new budget is approved in the fall, including the new amounts.
Doesn't have to.
Doesn't have to.
Would recommend it.
Yes,
I mean,
I think that would be true.
Just because the numbers that have been talked about are a staggering increase, which I don't necessarily agree with, but $50 a juror would be, we're getting way sideways on this discussion here.
Yeah.
So I think it's appropriate to bring that up in finance.
Another reason, yeah, okay. Yeah, just say, so I thank you for the two of you and myself, we've gotten jury notices at least, so that's the good news, that we are among those chosen to be part of a jury, so. The other part that does pertain to you is that you had mentioned in a past meeting about increases for election judges.
And that'll be forthcoming probably in the August or September meeting of Community Services.
And that is a budgetary item?
Correct.
Yeah, okay. So anything else related to the county clerk? Other than if you want to apply for a job, we got one for you. Okay, thanks for your time.
Thank you all. Have a good day.
Thank you. Okay, next we have the Assessor Eric Blair's report. You have it in your packet. Mr. Kirkster, would you move that we accept that report?
I move we accept.
Mr. Smith, you want to second that? Okay.
Travel like it's hot.
Oh, no. Is it 17 or is it, yeah, 17.
He's gonna do it one of these days.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I just have a few things to update you on this morning. Since we last spoke I think it was in April, prior to the tax bills being mailed out, we did maintain the ownership of record for the tax bill mailing address database. That's something that our office does year-round, is ownership of record. That's one of our key functions in our department. And so we try to work with the treasurer's office to make sure that the tax bills are going to the right place as much as possible. Of course, as soon as they create the file, something else is generated in the recorder's office and something gets out of date, but there's just nothing we can do about that. But another thing I wanted to bring up, we did receive the certified 2022 sales ratio study from the Department of Revenue, which is a really important step for us in the assessment office so that we can move forward in the year and the assessors would know the percentage change necessary for them for the year, and we don't really know that for sure until we get that certified calculation, and we did receive that. I believe it was back in early May when I got that. So that's an important step and something that we needed to get through. I also received the certified 2024 farmland PI values from the Department of Revenue. They do that at the end of April, and that sets up an opportunity for me to have the Farmland Assessment Review Committee meeting, which is the next step on my list here, is to schedule that. Something that we've already done is schedule the annual Farmland Assessment Review Committee meeting. That's scheduled for this coming Monday, June 26th at 10 a.m. in the second floor conference room. We get together once a year and discuss the farmland values and the changes and the things going on in the farmland community. So we'll be having that meeting on the second floor, in the second floor conference room on Monday the 26th at 10 a.m. That was published in the legal section of the Daily Journal as well, something that we need to do each year. So if you're interested, stop by. It's not a lengthy meeting, but we take about an hour and talk about farmland issues, and I think it's going to be a good meeting. So the things that we're kind of waiting on is obviously to hold that meeting next week on Monday, and then the other thing is this time of year I'm waiting on the assessors to turn in their assessment changes to me so that we can get moving on things like equalization, publication of assessments, and that kind of thing. But I have to wait for the assessors to turn their changes in before I can get that done. So
Good.
Those are the things kind of going on in my department. I'd be happy to answer any questions if there are any.
Someone have one? Ms. Foster, let me get your microphone correctly. 12?
Good morning.
Good morning.
I have a question. Does the solar farms that are now out in the heartland, does that affect the assessed valuation of the farmland?
It does not.
Okay.
Actually, what ends up happening is when that normally you're right, it is on a farmland parcel. Mm-hmm. The farmland, you're not able to grow crop or anything on there anymore, so it gets turned into a formulated assessment for the project itself. So it gets taken out of farmland and put into a special category called other assessments for the solar project itself, and it's valued per megawatt. Okay. So it's a per megawatt calculation from the state, from the legislature.
So it doesn't affect the other farmland around it, their assessments?
As long as the farmland around it is still being farmed, it doesn't impact that at all. No.
Okay.
Because farmland is valued, and this is probably a good opportunity for me to just kind of touch base on this real quick. Farmland is valued based on its productivity index, not anything else. So it's a state certified amount per acre based on the quality of the soil itself. So, you know, hopefully that kind of answers your question and makes some sense to you.
So since we're in this drought period, is that going to have that would have an effect on the soil quality?
There's nothing in the statute that actually impacts the taxation of farmland because of drought. No.
Okay.
No. It's the productivity index actually speaks to the soil's ability to
Grow.
you know, well, the richness of the soil, not so much the actual yield. If there's an issue for the year based on a drought, it doesn't impact the assessed value.
Okay.
These are good questions. The one report you were talking about, certified 2022 sales ratio study,
Yes.
and you mentioned that the assessors need that to know how much they should increase the assessment.
Increase or decrease depending on the year. In this case, because we're looking at 2020, 2021, and 2022 sales and the comparison between the sales and the assessed values. Obviously, the market has been really strong the last 3 years, and we are looking at increased assessed values. That is correct.
So that would be the anticipation by the owner. There should be an increase in assessment because of the history.
I like the way that you worded that. It's an increase in assessment. It doesn't necessarily speak to dollar for dollar an increase in tax itself. It's only the assessment that could go up. But it's, you know, obviously taxation has to do with levy and things like that too. So I do want to separate that out and only talk about assessed values looking to increase in 2023. Yes.
And you have taught me in the past, so I'm able to use my words well because of you. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Is who meets on that farmland? You said we're going to meet on the 26th. Who's meeting?
So the Farmland Assessment Review Committee, I am the chair of the meeting because I am the supervisor of assessments. The chairman of the Board of Review is one member, so that's two of us, and then we have three kind of at-large members of the farm community that are on the committee. And so that would be the 5 Farmland Assessment Review Committee members. I also invite, well, you know, Chad Miller from the from the Kankakee Farm Bureau isn't able to attend this year. He's coming back. I think he's coming back from vacation that day. But you know, I invite a woman from the Illinois Farm Bureau, Brenda Matherly. She'll be here to speak on some state legislation and things like that. If there's any changes, I'm not aware of any major changes, but she's a really welcome guest at a meeting like this. Sometimes the township assessors take interest in it and they want to sit at the meeting and talk. So it's a gathering that doesn't take up more than that second floor conference room. Let's put it that way. It's not a real big gathering, but the group of us get together and talk about farmland issues and make sure that those things are addressed. But the biggest point of the meeting is to certify the use of the 2024 values ahead of time, because if we don't certify the use of those and vote on the use of those, then we have to come up with our own. And if we come up with our own, we have to have a soil survey done, which is a cost to the county of, I'm told, of about $1 million. So if we disagree with the state's numbers, the cost to us would be astronomical, and then there's no guarantee that the state would approve us to use it anyway. So in essence, we're kind of, I don't want to say we're stuck with the state's numbers, but it's really best practice to use them. and we're going to go ahead and move forward on the 26th. I anticipate using those values.
And your persons that are on, farm persons are dispersed around the county, so they know the county well, and they, that's,
Yes.
yeah, that would be the best thing, wouldn't it?
Yes.
So
yes,
if they knew the
absolutely.
county and then you bring the numbers and you all agree.
Sure. Absolutely.
Anything else? You've given us a lot of good information. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Thanks. Okay. Next, turn to the next part of
Have
your.
a nice day.
To the county recorder, Lori Gadboy. You have three pages of her report. So, Ms. Foster, we're back to you. Would you move that we accept his report?
I make a motion.
Her report. Ms. Mundy, will you second it? All in favor of accepting the recorder's report, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no.
Morning.
Morning.
Any questions?
Well, what we were pointing out, we saw each other at the senior health fair. And I mentioned to her that if we looked at the numbers for April on this chart here, look at the number, 143,656. And that number, as you look back, is the highest since last November.
Yep.
So that was, April seems like an interesting month, but it was a pretty good one.
It was a very good month, yes, absolutely. And you can tell because of the state stamp value. So 53,000 is, take that $1 per thousand on the consideration of transactions, so,
That's it.
yep, it's a good day.
Can you speak to, was that one big place, or was that a?
Oh, no, that was multitudes. I don't have my April report with me to verify the number of deeds that were transferred, but yeah, it was just a good month.
Yep.
So,
And anything else? Oh, yeah, John 13, okay. So looking ahead, you've always been optimistic with us as this committee. What do you have?
it's hard to say. Every day is a different day. No two are the same. We could be slow one day, and then the next day it's just, a ton of transactions coming in. So good values on transactions, and so we'll take it as long as it's a good recording.
The things that you do preventively is how often do you need to email a person that there's been some activity on? Do you do it each time there's a transaction, if they have?
So when you sign up for Property Fraud Alert, you automatically, anytime something's recorded in the office, you will receive a notification. You know what you've done. You know if you've taken out a mortgage. You know if you paid something off. You know if you bought some new property. So typically, most people are comfortable with that. But we will get phone calls in the office. People will come in and say, I received this notification. We look it up for them and let them know what the document was that was recorded. And if it's not a very good situation, we begin a process. If it's a situation they're familiar with, then they move on.
Oh,
So it's like insurance. You don't want to have to use it. So I always tell them, you don't want to hear from me.
yeah. But you seem to be saying that it's rare that there will be a wrong use of that.
Last year we had 11 situations.
That's not good.
No.
For us. 11 situations mean that 11 times somebody who didn't own the property was trying to do something with it.
Yes.
And usually it's what?
Unfortunately, it's typically family members that are manipulating maybe an elderly grandparent or parent, putting their name on the deed, taking them completely off the deed, and then using it to get a loan. Of the 9 were family related, and then the other 3 were unfortunately situations that had to excel. Typically, we don't get too involved until after a police report is filed. There are steps that have to be taken, and then we work closely with the state's attorney's office to escalate the process.
Excel, that's where the Excel comes in. not the
Yeah.
not the computer reports.
Yeah, we don't, yeah, no. Personally, we don't get too deep in the weeds on the whole process until we have to testify possibly that it was recorded in our office. And then there's other things involved. Depending, every situation's just a little different. They're not identical.
One of the things that Laurie mentioned in the past is do you remember the story of somebody moving into a vacant house that didn't have anything to do with it?
Right. Yep, they did. And they put the utilities in their name. When the realtor showed up to list the property because the owner had moved to Florida, they were threatened. It was interesting. I had to testify with the grand jury for that one. So it was, yeah, quite a...
Again, if you don't have this, and say the words again. If
It's
you don't,
property fraud alert.
If you don't have property fraud alert on your account, stop by.
Yep. Or you can go to our website. There's a QR code if you want to just do it yourself. It's very simple. Or call my office. My staff is more than happy to help out. At the senior event last week, I bet you we signed up a good 15 people. So that was very good. Yes.
It's one of the senior scams ideas
Yes.
to bring up.
Exactly. Yes.
Okay, so anything else you'd like to mention about that? Okay, well, thanks for your
Well,
report today.
thank you. Everyone have a great day.
You have more senior fairs to go?
Who knows?
Who knows? Okay. We have a report from the animal control area. Carrie couldn't be here today, but Ms. Andrade, will you move that we accept the report? Mr. Kirkstra second it? Will you second her?
Yes.
Okay. All in favor of accepting the report, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, the things we want to point out to it is on the left-hand column for the month, the registration numbers are 33,120. That's a good number because that's the number that will be used for payments on the loans and to pay for the building. So the better and higher that number is, the better. And notice it is $4,000 higher than it was last year at this time. And also the number is yearly total to date, 220,932. So that's a good number too. The other thing to mention though is that notice under animals handled 63 for this month, whereas last year at this time 113. So if that's good news, I don't know, maybe last year was something important was happening, but to have 63, and usually her report has 80 or 90 animals, so that's a good answer to that. Although there were 5 wildlife, excuse me, Mr.
The
Will.
answer is that they're full and they can't take any more animals.
I got it. They can't handle any more
And
animals.
they haven't
'cause they're
been for
full.
3 weeks since they
Had a situation.
had a situation, yes.
Yeah.
Irresponsible owners.
That doesn't mean there aren't animals that need care, it's just that they're not
Exactly.
able to help them
They're
out,
full.
isn't it? So, okay. The second page of her report mentions, again, we usually often mention about the euthanization, that all the euthanizations were by owners who asked that it be done for the animal. The other things, though, 2 things. One is if you had either attended the Building and Grounds meeting or watched it on your video on the county site, you were able to listen and watch for all the openings of the bids for the animal control building. And you saw, and then if you were able, you could also have printed the minutes to that meeting, and it mentions them then too. And then you also, if you were reading your daily journal, notice that there were things that were rebid and that they'll be opened on the 28th, on Wednesday the 28th. So I guess, Mr. Whaley, would you mention that's where we are right now, is just opening and reviewing the bids? Is that the process that's going on?
Yeah, the bids are coming in on the 27th. I believe we put 4 o'clock on that. I believe that was the time, and then open on the 28th. Reevaluate. There are some things that changed, moving the construction date out to where we perceive there's less competition for materials and things like that. We sense that we're getting a lot of high bids because everybody's got projects stacked up on top of each other for this summer. And then we didn't get bids on a lot of items from anybody. And then we had 1 bid on the largest portion of the construction of this. So it was to retool the packages and put it back out there to cast a wider net. So we'll know. We got a not to exceed number as it stands right now. So we'll know what that looks like at finance, well, soon after, obviously, we have to tabulate everything. Then the full board will be the final number approval on what we're committing towards the project, and hopefully move dirt before the snow flies and finish up in the spring. And we're still looking at April as a completion date.
Well, anything that you said today, that's the most important, because the sign out front says 2024.
Yeah.
And that would be so helpful if it would be April 2024. Hopefully, that could be good. Okay, so tune in. The openings will be on buildings and grounds for the next bids. No,
Finance.
fine, that's what that date is finance?
Yeah. Yes.
Wednesday the 28th is finance, okay.
Yes.
Okay, tune in, maybe you're on the committee, but tune in otherwise, so, okay. Thank you. Anything else on animal control? Okay, under, then Ms. Parker is away at a meeting, so we don't have a report. The committee did meet, they will meet again, and she'll give a report when that meets again. The last thing under old and new business, in your mailboxes today, there's a letter that Dr. Polk has presented to you about the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Memorial Foundation is asking your support for the Harbor House and for the Scholarship Fund. So she's providing and organizing a tribute to Tina Turner as a community event, and in your if you wish to support it, the information is there for you too. Do you want to add anything else, Ms. Polk?
No, that's about it.
Okay.
Please support, because we really would like to add more scholarship winners for next year, and we would like to definitely help Harbor House.
Yep, thanks you. That's a community event, and we're glad to take part in it. So, anything else for our meeting, Mr. Wheeler?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Before last month's meeting that was canceled, we had a discussion with department heads. I mentioned it to yourself. The agendas are increasingly light. And today there was really no actionable business beyond monthly reports that could have been approved at another committee. So as these committees take a couple $1,000s to run, I would just put it out there that if the committee were to consider every other month, it would take an action because that's part of the county code. But the department heads did not have a problem with it, but I would circulate an email between yourself that I need to hear from the committee members. If they have something for the department heads, would they want it to happen in this committee, or could they handle it offline? It just seems like until there's business, the department heads are saying, we don't need to meet until we have business. I would heed that, my own personal opinion, because it does cost us between depending on how many people are here, $2,000 and $2,500 for a meeting. So
again, what do you wish?
Basically, does this committee, feel the same to have a discussion here? It's not a vote. It would come to executive, but I wouldn't do something. When we were canceling meetings because there was no business and COVID, there was some pushback, that we want to get to, the department heads. Well, now that COVID's not here, does the group still feel the same? It's a different board. I just throwing it out there. It's not my call. Yeah. It's yours in working with the department heads.
So is there a comment from the committee at all? Is that agreeable to you, that if there is not, we're really meeting and discussing ideas rather than approving anything? So Ms. Mundy, you get your 12.
Would we still get would we still get emailed their reports and things so that we can kind of keep up with that month as to what's gone on?
It would more than likely, I think the appropriate thing would be the reports would go into the executive packet. You would see them there.
Okay.
Because those packets go out as well.
Sure.
To everybody.
They would come to the executive meeting?
I think that's appropriate.
Yeah, that's where they do now, like the ones from last month.
It's a catch-all for things that we've missed throughout the month.
So if you're either on the executive committee or listen in or watch the reports. And those are agreeable. So it's just so our consensus is, it seems, if we're not going to miss anything, if there is business, the meeting will be called. All you have to do is post the agenda on Monday, isn't it? Or is it Friday?
We send out the email on Friday to department heads. Maybe we just include this to the committee members. Do you have anything for committee? Otherwise, we'll not have community service this month.
Okay, and it wouldn't be that it would be 3 months in a row. It'd be that it's every other month and something like that.
Well, it just depends on what you say. We're not going to take any liberties with that. And there's something to be said for public comment. You know, if the public wants to come in and say something, you know, they should be able to do so, so.
Well, I like to see the numbers like on the different reports and, you know, the expenses and, you know, just kind of eyeball all of that. So what you're saying is then, if we're not having a community service meeting at the executive committee meeting, that packet would include those reports there.
Correct.
So if we didn't meet for 2 or 3 months because there wasn't anything actionable, we really need to be at that meeting to collect that information.
It's emailed every meeting.
The executive committee? To
Yeah.
us, even
Yeah.
if we're not
Not
on that committee?
everybody isn't.
Yeah, the
Is it-
packets go out to everybody.
Packet goes to everybody or just to the committee?
Executive committee?
I'm not for sure.
See, I don't think the packets go to
Packet goes to the.
only committee
Yeah,
meetings, so.
I don't think I get a packet. So,
Packets only go out to committee members.
right, so I'm not getting one, but that's,
You do so.
yeah.
Yeah.
As long as, you know, like I said, I just kind of want to be informed. I
We
don't
can
need
send the
to, I don't need
reports
to
from
meet.
here. Yeah, we
Yeah.
can send the reports from this committee out to everybody, and it just will be approved at
Yeah,
executive.
that will,
Seems
that will
fine.
probably help.
Yeah, yeah, I certainly agree that we don't need to meet if there's nothing actionable that really needs a vote or needs, but as long as we're getting the information, that way, if there is something we want to question, we can go directly to the source and say, hey,
Right.
what is this about? Or, you know, I can call you and say, hey, why was this way? Or, you know, so I would agree that we don't need to meet, but I don't know what the rest of you all feel.
So, again, for the minutes, the consensus is that we don't need to meet if there isn't something to action on, but it would be helpful if emailed before that date, we would receive the reports of it, because the department heads need the reports done by the time of this meeting anyway.
Yep, that's
So it
fine.
would be available.
Yeah.
So you'll get a packet, and it will have a note on it, we're not gonna really meet, but here's the packet of stuff. Tune in to executive for approval of them or your comment on them, so, okay. I think that's a good compromise, a good cooperative effort, so thank you for being economic-minded besides, so. Anything else, Mr. Wheeler, anything else?
Yep.
Okay, then.
I'll circle back with those department heads just to make sure I heard them all correctly. And really, if it's one that says, no, I need to meet every month, we'll be here.
All right,
And it's really the same way with this group. If it's one, we'll be here,
okay.
you know?
I think that's, if you just love us each other, we'll just meet then. It's good to talk with everybody.
Kumbaya.
Okay. So then, I think where we are, okay, Ms. Mundy will move that we adjourn, and Ms. Andre, you want to second it? All in favor of adjourning, say aye. Aye. Approved. Any opposed? No.